Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news discussion and, of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm Weiry Writer, and I showed off a whole lot of stuff that's still in my near vicinity last episode of this two-parter. So I also have these very fancy dice from Critical Role that I spent too much money on.
You did.
They're very pretty. And hey, Critical Role Campaign 4 Ahriman just premiered for me. It was good.
Yeah, you were up real late, given
2:30 a.m.
Yeah.
I took the next day off from work.
Critical Role premiere.
Specifically requested the next day off of work because I knew I was going to stay up too late.
Good. Also joining us is Evgeni.
Hi, I'm Argent, and for this edition of my show and tell, I will show you this little adapter that I bought where you can plug in US style chargers on one end, and then you plug that into EU or Europe style charger in the other end.
Yeah, and you would never want to use those USB-A ports because they'll charge incredibly slowly.
They do charge incredibly slowly.
Yeah.
That is still more than nothing.
Yeah, but you could have like a brick that plugs into the plug.
Yes, but yes.
Yeah, like they're good. Don't use your USB-A charge for charging, guys. That's your message today. And last but not least, we have Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Cosmeregirl. And for show and tell today, I have a little bookshelf that my sister made for me. So a ton of the little books.
Oh my goodness. That's so cute.
Yeah, they do look.
And then on the side,
oh my god,
little slugs.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. Oh my god.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job with this.
Wow.
Ask your sister if she's looking for any more siblings.
Sorry, I thought you were saying that to the audience.
Hey, audience, every single one of you, if you have a sister, ask her if she needs any more siblings.
My sister already has the best sibling she could ask for.
Yeah, there you go. Easy.
I like to think of myself as a discount offer.
Is that again a height joke?
Okay.
No, but it could be.
It could be. It is now. Cool. And I'm Chaos, and we are going to continue talking about dragons today. So go listen to our previous dragon episode, which was extremely on topic. And I'm sure
we only talked about dragons, Eric.
Nothing else.
I don't know what you're implying.
And I'm sure this episode being the second episode we've recorded, and that I don't think we've done a twofer in a long time. So I'm sure this will go great.
Yeah, it has been a few months, but it has not been like an outrageous amount of time.
I don't know. I don't think we've done any in 2025. I don't think we've done any.
We just have so much to say about dragons.
Yes, just dragons.
We sure have much to say.
And so what we're going to talk about to start is we are going to discuss kind of the magic and technological creations of the dragons. I know we've kind of talked about the manacles some last time, so I don't think we need to go into as much detail about that. But it is very cool that the dragons are great builders of things, which I think is very cool.
We'll see how well Brandon does this at the end of the day. But that's one of the things that I always struggle with a little bit when I think about fantasy, kind of like when I'm not immersed in the world and I think about these worlds more critically. I go, well, if you were a race that lives for tens of thousands of years or whatever, is it realistic that you would be at whatever technological level we are seeing currently? Or should you be much further ahead? And some of this is, it's difficult to conceptualize like our technological development. Obviously, humans have been around for tens of thousands of years. And
that is true.
And, most of those, our technology has not been incredible, right? It's really only the last
150 years.
Let's say
200. Maybe a bit more.
I mean, I was gonna say like 1,000.
Sure.
Years that have been, but you know what I mean, right? And so that's always something that I look into when we get these like immortal races. And so far I am tentatively okay with what we are seeing here, because we are seeing dragons having these it's not a magical utopia, but they have like this incredible technology that the mortal races are only now beginning to approach from a more technological perspective, right? The dragons have these incredible skyscrapers and incredible cities and incredible magical artifacts and incredible vaults and stuff like that. But all of these things are fueled or powered by draconic magic, which is almost soft magic in this case. And then on the other end, we have humans, and specifically we see the Maoish, but I'm sure other like flavors of humans will be approaching similar things in similar ways. Are starting to arrive at like, well, I don't know if the Maoish have flying cities, but they certainly have spaceships, right? And they are a Cosmere-wide civilization, and they have these great weapons and things like that. But they are approaching these things from a more hard magic, hard science perspective. So that's an interesting conflict, interesting way to look at the same thing from two different perspectives.
I'm, as is a custom for the two of us, I'm going to disagree with you.
Good.
Which is, I don't think the dragons are just like woo-woo soft magic stuff. I think they are building their stuff on the same technological principles. It's just they had a big head start.
Yeah.
But if they had this big head start, why did they not keep their advance?
So I think a lot of it came from like they have a more like intuitive understanding of the three realms based on all of their connection stuff. Like they got into the cognitive realm first via the Great Star. Like they built like the grand confluence of cognitive realm travel, which is Silverlight. So like they're getting access to like the good information from across the Cosmere more so than any other species. And so like they did like have this like big dramatic technological upswing. And then like it just did still tick up over time, just very gradual. Whereas like everyone else like just had like a very gradual like, and now just now is reaching the same level as the dragons, as it's going up faster than the dragons are going up, because like technological advancement like isn't a linear process. Like different populations and it's not like a single line. We see that on Earth where like different populations develop things at different times, and it's not all leading towards, it's vaguely all leading towards the same stuff, but it's not exactly the same stuff. But like having like confluence between things is like where a ton of innovation happens. And that happened for dragons very early on, whereas for most other populations, it's happening much, much later.
Yeah, like the amount of knowledge that mortals had for a really long time was really low Cosmere awareness, right? And not a great understanding of these fundamental magic things, and we've gotten much more of that as we've progressed. I do think that there is a bit of a difference with the dragons being this long-lived species that they're like, I mean, these mortals will live and die. Whatever. We have this awesome magic. How much more can we necessarily progress it? Like, I think in some sense, mortality drives innovation. Whereas if you're immortal, like there is a bit less of that. And I know I understand your critique of this, Evgeni, because I do think in some fantasy settings, it really doesn't make sense. Or it's like, wow, you didn't progress at all. Like it's just in stasis for thousands of years. Whereas I do think like the dragons, they are progressing, like they're interfacing with these cultures differently. Like Silverlight's advanced a great deal. And I don't know, I think it kind of makes sense. And I'm glad we're seeing like this confluence of these different types of tech trees, so to speak, kind of conflicting.
Yeah, and we also kind of see dragons tending to take the role of like patron of science rather than the scientists themselves.
Yeah.
I think
we don't know of any, granted we don't know about a lot of dragons. We don't know of any dragon scientists. Whereas we know a ton of mortal arcanists.
So I would argue that there's a false dichotomy there by saying that you have the dragons versus the non-dragons. Because we're talking about, if we're talking about Silverlight, that was made by the dragons, and they have really fostered this learning. And you have Xysis, who's out there trying to understand the water cycle on other planets.
Oh, that's true. He's a
I
scientist.
would argue Xysis is a scientist.
Yeah.
And
He is.
And going
I forgot about Xysis.
Don't forget.
I just remembered Xysis as like vaguely menacing capitalist and not as his alter ego as scientist.
He comes to my lectures, Ian. How dare you?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. But like, no, he does do science.
A lecture on a new world, I will absolutely be there.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I would argue that that the conversation is treating them as two separate entities, where really, it's not two separate entities, humans versus dragons,
that's
necessarily.
True. But there's also like the whole thing of like, they're not pressed for deadlines. Like they're going to take as much time as they want to take to figure this thing out. Like they're not like needing like, okay, like I need to publish this now. I have 2 centuries to work this through. Whereas like a mortal is like, okay, mortals. Like I can only work on this for like what, 60 years?
And like that's both a pro and a con, right? Like the con is maybe a bit less innovation. The pro is that you have these ancient beings who know more than a mortal ever could, right? And can pass that information along extremely effectively in ways that we need years of education to do, right? For the next generations. So,
and I mean, you could argue that they're playing the long game there, but at the same time, they're going up against each other potentially too for influence.
Yeah.
And so there's the long game for sure, but there's also, if another dragon that they're, going against a little bit for influence somewhere is making headway, it's going to be a lot harder to get that headway back once it's made.
Yeah. So like, I think a lot of like their tech, their dragon tech, is just them using their understanding of the Cosmere to get more like base mechanical stuff done. Kind of going back to last episode where I was contending that normal Fabrial tech is different from Surge Fabrials.
Sure.
Whereas like Fabrial tech is digging into like more base mechanics and so can do a lot broader stuff rather than like the Surge Fabrials, which are like more like tightly bound to the limits of Surge binding. So it's like the dragons just are doing that more stripped down to basic fundamentals magitech. They just figured it out first, which lets them do like a whole lot more than just replicating a given magic system, which is where a lot of the mortal species, like, that's kind of what they're going to be stuck to until much later in the process.
I mean, maybe, but they also feel stagnant. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's, just what you get when you are writing functionally mortal beings. But like, how old is the Dawn Shard Vault that we see?
Sure.
I don't remember if we are told, but certainly more than centuries, very likely millennia. It might date almost all the way back to the Shattering. And I assume that vault has not changed much since.
Well, I mean, technically, if it's made of dragon steel, it can't really change much at all, really.
I mean, physically, magically, whatever.
Sure.
And so mortals are now starting to encroach on. They're starting to understand the Cosmere well enough to build a weapon that can that is reaching the levels of understanding and power the dragons had thousands of years ago. Why are the dragons still at the level of understanding and power that they were thousands of years ago?
So I don't think they necessarily are. Like, I do think like there is, it's just the incline isn't.
Why is the Dawn Shard not in a more secure?
It is in a more secure place.
They moved it.
I want to jump in here. I want to jump in because I want to say, I want to take Evgeni's point even further. Is I don't know stagnant is the right word so much as unthreatened. Or going further is that, I think they feel unthreatened. Is they are sticking with what they have because
dragons.
Good.
If you're listening to this, go to the video. I have a diagram where it's like, okay, like the dragons got very powerful very fast and have slowly grown over time.
I literally use the same.
Whereas mortals, like, much more gradual than like accelerating over time. And now they're meeting. Which I think is reasonable because like there isn't going to be a huge press for the dragons to improve dramatically for most of the Cosmere because they're so far beyond anybody else. Like there's not going to be a cultural impetus of like, we need to like get ahead of them because like we're already like miles ahead of them. And it's only like in maybe it's the last 1,000 years. Maybe it's the last 500 years. Maybe it's like the last couple centuries of like, okay, like now human mortal civilization is like really cooking with gas and accelerating quickly. And so like, and the dragons like haven't like just aren't as motivated. I don't know. I don't think it's unreasonable for dragons to be like unbothered.
I would say it's unreasonable. I started this whole thing with whenever there are immortals involved, this is something I'm looking out for. And so far it seems fine. But so far we also know very little. And so that's just something I want to keep an eye on as we learn more about the development of these species.
It's very much the human and the elves story.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's exactly why I'm looking at it. It's because I've never felt like a story has really conveyed like this disparity to me very well.
I do want to add an additional dimension, which is Adenalcium and the Shattering, right? Because the dragons originally served Adenalcium. Maybe Aether's around. Let's not deal with them. But like basically, the dragons are helping the head honcho of the entire Cosmere. So that's a huge advantage. And I feel like the dragons definitely, you know, are not disseminating a lot of their knowledge to the mortals for a very long time. Building these great cities.
Well, they'll disseminate it to their, you come to work for me and I'll tell you what you need to do.
Right.
You're not leaving that business arrangement.
Yeah. They like their control. But then Adenalcium shattered. And I think that's a really important aspect in talking about the progression of other strains of mortals and humans, right? Like it's if you have something like invention, which we don't really know anything about, but presumably I'm going to assume lots of scientific advancement with inventions people. Taldane's people apparently quite advanced, which we got a reference to in Emberdark, which is cool. But then, you know, who knows what happens with these other shards, like Roshar, very, very good at war because they've had a really, really long time in this massive conflict that would just never happen with dragons, right? And so there's kind of that the shards can rapidly advance mortal societies, even just like with investiture, right? Like that was not a thing dragons needed to worry about. Like the amount of power given, I mean, we don't really know, but presumably a lot less than the fantastical surge binding and allomancy. But also, like, I don't know, maybe the dragons are a little scared of pissing off shards as well. It's like, you got to be a little careful, you know? Like, I don't know what dynamics there are with the other shards, but like they can't just go around building willy-nilly now when their shards running around, right? They kind of have to like keep to certain areas that it's like, yeah, no, this is our places, and shards maybe go other places. It doesn't seem like a shard dragon conflict would go well for the dragon. I'll be like, dragons are pretty great, but you know, like that seems unwise. I also think like there's a very different matter of technological expression if you have this dragon steel thing that you can form with your mind, right? As opposed to the slow process of building knowledge with engineering. Like that's a very different way of thinking about things and gaining knowledge when it's like, oh, I mean, I have this super awesome magical material. I can't really advance the super awesome magical material because that's just what I have, right? You have to go like for a totally different axis to try and compare and maybe exceed it, but how would you know tens of thousands of years ago, right?
It's very thematically similar to if you think about Elendel and the Malwish.
Sure.
Where when you have the basin where everything is there and provided, you work for Adenalcium, you have this material you can do whatever with just by thinking about it, versus you have the Malwish who have to work to get, you know, where they are.
Yeah. And I think that's a theme, but I mean, the Dawnshard Vault was moved to a more secure location, and so I imagine that there have been magical advancements. I wonder what like sort of investiture the dragons can do necessarily, because maybe we forgot to mention, but they're so highly invested that they can't like have a radiant bond, right? Like their soul is too full, right? Yeah. And so it does make me wonder, like there are some disadvantages to that. Like the amount of investiture effects they can have is maybe a bit lower in some sense, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting that Zeiss seems to literally have awakening, which does he have breath? Is he able to receive breath when he is unable to receive a spren bond?
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. because a spren bond is more intimate.
The cracks in the soul and stuff, whereas breath's
like
sticky.
It really needs to get in there, whereas breath kind of just sits on top.
Yeah.
Does it? Like, I've always imagined breath is integrating with your soul.
No.
Because
I don't think so.
you get effects that come out of it.
Sure, but like breath is designed in such a way that like it can be endowed, right? So it can't be as firmly integrated. Like maybe a bit.
It's not very sticky. Yes.
Like it suffuses you, but like I do think that is a distinct part like of your soul.
It's like plugging in an external hard drive rather than updating your like graphics card. One of those is a much more like in you sort of thing.
I take it as it's an investiture meant to be, of course, given to somebody else. It's meant to be passed around and, not so sticky so that you can share it with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, because most investiture like is not like that. So that's kind of the special thing with breath, is that it is very transportable. So that is interesting. But like they can't do surge bindy things. Like I don't know if dragons can make dawn cities. They can do other things, like presumably using the dragon steel they have and together, and I would imagine forming the dragon steel with their mind. That's kind of my mental thing. Maybe you need multiple dragons, but like you don't have access to the same effects.
I think they have the potential to replicate a lot of effects of magic systems. They're just not going to be using the magic systems themselves.
Yeah, I buy that.
Like I said, like going back to base principles, they're going to do it the hard way, basically, because that they can't access the easy way.
That does make me wonder if we talked about the potential investiture laser beams, but I think it's entirely plausible that they can just use the investiture that they get from the spiritual realm and put it in stuff to make stuff, and like have devices that channel that investiture to do a specific effect. Like that seems very plausible to me. It's hard to say what the dragon tech actually is, right? We get a little bit of it with the manacles. But
like ultimately, what's the difference between, and this is going to sound weird, but like, what's the difference between a dragon and a shard? Both have vast reserves of power, investiture. Obviously, a shard has more, but we're still operating on levels that are exceeding the average mortal.
Mm-hmm.
Both have a very deep understanding of how the Cosmere works, and presumably a powerful intent that can shape. So the thing I always come back to is Nickley saying the most powerful forms of surge binding transcend traditional mortal understanding. And obviously he's not talking about surge binding, right? He's talking about magic. Yada yada. All their greatest applications require intent and a command, demands on a level no person could ever manage alone. To make such commands, one must have the reasoning, the breadth of understanding of a deity. And so the Dawn Shards, the four primal commands that create all things.
Okay.
And so, like, that's where I think Cosmere magic gets soft when you get to the when you get to the spiritual realm, when you get to intent and command, when you get to the level where you can just I think Nomad also talks briefly about this in obviously Sunlit Man, where he talks about like the idea of commanding investiture. And so if you are this kind of entity with a lot of investiture, if you have the breadth of understanding, the level of reasoning, of a deity, which dragons informally are known as deities. And if you have the ability to form these commands, if you can command, like if you have the ability to shape investiture however you want, but much more than the average mortal can, then do you not start to approach the level of magic doing that a shard, like, because a shard can just show up on a planet and do essentially whatever they want. It's not literally, but essentially whatever they want.
Yeah.
Can our dragons a minor form of that?
You're asking what the difference between the two are, and the difference is scale.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. One has scales, the other one doesn't, but
yeah. I think that's the difference. Like, well,
you were on your train of thought and you did not process the joke, but that's fine.
Good one.
Good.
Kudos.
And that's kind of what I was driving at as well, right? It's a sale. It's a sale. It's a scale. Shards just do more of it. But like, which you know, the reason I talk about all of this is because we were talking about things the dragon can and cannot do, and I think dragons can kind of maybe do whatever they want on a small scale.
Yeah, it's like a capitalist metaphor for this is a normal mortal is somebody working paycheck to paycheck. A dragon is someone very well off. Like, they make 6 figures a year in their job. Like, they're comfortable. They can do a lot. The shards are Elon Musk.
Sure.
They have stupid amount of money.
Yeah.
And like, yes, the person making 6 figures can do more things than like the person living paycheck to paycheck. They are wealthier. They are magnitudes below a billionaire.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, obviously, it does make me wonder how much the dragons can use their investiture to do other stuff. I think that's a open question. Although this conversation about the Dawn Shard made me wonder, I think maybe the dragons used that Dawn Shard that they had in some respects.
Maybe that's why they feel so unthreatened.
Yeah, you know, that's a pretty good point, actually. That, like, we have one of the Dawn Shards where I wouldn't be surprised if they want to try and get more of the Dawn Shards. Just be like, I mean, they killed God, so maybe we shouldn't allow those to get in the wrong hands. And so, well, we'll do it. Though maybe they had them before. Who's to say?
I think they still have to live with the political realities of the Cosmere, where the 4 Dawn Shards were used in the execution of Adenalsium and its subsequent shattering.
Mm-hmm.
They were presumably divided at that point through mutual decision by those involved. One was given to the dragons for protection. Presumably, Hoyd kept one, and then the other 2 went wherever they went. I could see there being some sort of agreement between the dragons as a political entity and the shards that are like, okay, the dragons get 1 Dawn Shard, and like they're going to keep it safe. If the shards see dragons getting more than 1 Dawn Shard, like,
that's true.
Dragons become way more of a threat, and like, no, we don't like that. So like,
true. Yeah, there could be a lot of interesting agreements. Like, I could imagine Frost is like negotiating on behalf of the the dragons at that point, because Frost was at the shattering. He just didn't pick up a shard.
Yeah, he was definitely involved.
And Hoyd
Whereas
was there.
like the other three, like Hoyd is Hoyd.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna. The other two, like presumably not given to an immortal races as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a little bit fuzzier, which is why like I'm assuming Change is one of the other two.
Yeah,
that eventually it's traveling around, eventually makes its way to Roshar.
Yeah, I don't think this Dawn Shard that we saw in the vault is exist or change. Right. I think it is an additional one. And then there's a fourth one that we don't know anything about. Yeah, I can definitely see there being an agreement where like, okay, sure. The dragons are not going to, immediately mess with the shards. So let's try and lower the conflict level for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
You get a Dawn Shard, but not too many. That'd be real bad. Maybe the agreement is let's never have all four of these together, which it did seem like getting the Dawn Shards together bad in truth, which is weird.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We gotta talk about that more extensively.
Yeah.
We need a more new Dawn Shard episode. Shard categorization episode.
Can I throw out a tinfoil hat theory?
Yeah.
The Dawn Shard isn't in the old spot because it was moved. It was because it was stolen. Bit of a tinfoil hat theory there. Because would you really tell everyone if it was stolen? Would you pretend that, oh no, we just moved it. That was on purpose. It's very tinfoil hat at this point. There's nothing really.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what it says in the text, you can always make the argument that Starling is potentially too young to know better.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I
tinfoil.
think that if stealing the Dragon's Dawn Shard is the worst one to steal because they absolutely will track you down and kill you and get it back.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one thing to be running from the Night Brigade. It's another thing to be running from dragons.
The immortal dragons that are connected to all the other dragons that can talk to the other dragons instantly at any point and be like, screw this person in particular.
If they know who they are.
Well, the thing is, location can be used to track. Because is that in Emberdark?
Are you thinking
there is
of
the idea
that
the Dawn Shard was in that vault for so long, it had connected to it, essentially. It had left an imprint.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that is much like making a spike from a previous Dawn Shard's holders. Brandon's whole thing of you hold the Dawn Shard, you become the Dawn Shard. It's no, Brandon, this is why we have the word vessel now.
We literally did this already.
The shard.
we literally did this already.
Yes.
15 years ago.
Yeah. Because, fun fact, fandom history, Brandon didn't want... Vessel wasn't originally a term. Fandom used shard holder for a very long time. Brandon was just no, if you hold the shard, you become the shard. It's no.
Which, at least in that case, you vaporized and, you really, if anything, it makes more sense for the shard.
Yeah.
In a sense.
But, linguistically, you need a word for that person.
Yeah.
So, Dawn Shard Vessel, you can use that to track down the next link in the chain. Presumably, you can use that. Something akin to that using the previous location. If anybody knows how to do that, the dragons would know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if it got stolen, it didn't stay stolen for long.
The amount of resources that just Xysis has is in an insane amount of resources. Admittedly, it does seem like Xysis was the dragon. Well, not the dragon, but one of the dragons who was more I'll just be kind of in the Cosmere doing stuff, and others are more reserved, right? That was a thing. But think of the resources of all the dragons. It's like, oh, okay, interesting. How fun.
I was going to say that it seems like a bad idea to antagonize the dragons, but that's what the Malwish are doing. Like, they are in the vault. They have broken into the vault, and it just happens to be empty.
Well, presumably, yeah, I mean, like, there is a lot of context to that is unclear. Like, was that a place that the dragons even cared about? Was that on Yolen? Like, I don't think we know even where that was.
But regardless of whether it is, even if it's like some remote location that, you know, whatever, the Malwish found somehow, you now have the Malwish Empire, like, actively displaying power on the level of the Draconic Vaults. Like, hey, they are showing up and they're saying, we can break into one of these top secret locations. Even if it's empty, that is still a show of force.
It is. And I'm betting, like, the dragon government is not particularly happy with that.
Probably not.
Which, like, there's the whole thing of, like, as long as they know about it, they may not know about it yet. Because I don't think Dodger got access to that because of his connections. We don't know how public facing that action is beyond the Malwish Arcanists.
True, but surely the dragons are keeping tabs on their, like...
I'm sure they have, like, a ring doorbell or something.
They have the dragon ring doorbell.
These are specifically the Malwish Arcanists, though, right?
Yes, they are.
And Xysis is a big supporter of the Arcanists in general, I think.
Yeah, but that's not the same as the Silverlight ones. Like, the Silverlight ones are not representatives of the Scadri, the Malwish government, right?
Yeah.
Where these, like, are, like, people in the military.
That's like... Xysis supports the sciences. Hey, you've got, you know, this other empire scientists are doing bad stuff like that. Yeah. This is not like an organization. Right?
Yeah. Arcanists are not like a discrete. There are factions of Arcanists.
Yeah.
Like, there's multiple universities in Silverlight. Like, they're not like all united in Silverlight necessarily.
The thought I'm trying to follow is the idea that what if these are Arcanists that are working for Xysis specifically to investigate?
I don't.
Or to look at the vault. I don't think so, but that was what I was kind of...
Because, like, they're working for the Malwish government.
Yeah.
Xysis would not be involved with it.
Yeah, I think that's...
It's like the difference between, like, scientists working for, like, a public university and, like, scientists, like, working for the CIA. Like, there's a divide there.
Yeah, the thing I'm thinking through is, like, or what I was thinking through is there's the assumption that they're definitely working with the Malwish, but really all we know is that they're wearing masks.
And Dager has a close contact with them. And Dager is a government official. So
yeah, and that's where it breaks down.
Yeah, I think you have to jump through some real hoops too.
Yeah. And, like, the other thing is, like, going back to, like, the mortal races catching up to the dragons in terms of technology is, like, the Malwish is a space empire. Like, you not as easily crushable than they were before.
And it's one of those things where, like, Shard protecting the Malwish from invaders, presumably, right? Even if the dragons wanted to crush the Malwish. But B, it probably happened that they're not a threat to they are a threat happened in kind of a short span that it's like, this is now challenging. But
yeah,
but also, like, who's to say what the Scadrian
if this
shards
had happened 2 centuries ago, the dragons could have just handled it, probably. But, like, it couldn't have happened 2 centuries ago.
Yeah. But it is. I feel like the balance of power in the Cosmere space age is very delicate with Roshar, Scadrial, and like we have the dragons, you have the Night Brigade, we have all the shards. Like what are all their opinions and things like that's. I think it's going to be a bit of a powder keg and it's not going to go great, right? Yeah. And so like people are doing things that maybe could be considered an act of war, but it's like, oh, if we fight back, that would be like really bad though. So it's like, maybe we don't, maybe we want to assert our sovereignty, maybe not, I don't know, right? It gets tricky in the practicality when
or like they may just like push back for concessions in some other areas. Like, hey, remember that thing you did? You're going to give us this thing over here.
That sounds like a very dragon way of dealing with it, to be honest. Like, oh, no. We remember the last 40 things you did. And now we are going to talk about it in great detail. Starling's mom will be on the case, dragon lawyering for the sake of the dragons.
Well, we got to find her first.
Which we will talk about. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah. But going back to like some other magic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about the floating city yet.
We gotta talk about the floating
city.
We gotta.
Which is like Dodger. So like there's a couple of mentions in Isles of the Emberdark. One of the connections to the Nexus is the Great Star of Yolen, a glowing hole in the upper atmosphere of Starling's homeland. The dragons had an entire infrastructure up there with a flying city. And then later on, Dodger talks about it like there were no greater builders in history than the Olish dragon kind. The grand, and then like shows an image on the screen, the grand ivory city of Larkal, built high along the glittering skyways of Yolen, far above the wild forests, constructed by her people during their primordial service to Edenalsium, before the rivalry between the Fane and the Unfane.
And that's crazy, just timeline-wise, of just, like, these dragons on the Spirit Shore, they've just been there for so long, and things.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The city had stood through disaster, war, upheaval, and the death of God itself. Its alabaster towers had seen millennia come and go, and she'd begun to despair ever seeing it in person again.
So, talking about that timeline, before the rivalry between the Fane and Unfane, so that puts it potentially before Dragonsteel, depending on where that starts.
Oh, almost assuredly.
And that means, yeah,
centuries,
assuming
millennia.
Before. That means
long before she'd been born, back before Master Hoyd had been born, when Frost had been a youth.
So this is further back in the Cosmere than we're ever getting a book for.
Yeah.
Likely, I'd imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be ancient.
Surprise
when we get the earliest book in the Cosmere, which is
crazy,
bonkers.
Yeah, and people are like, well, what about Dragonsteel prequel?
Coming to you in the form of a Diceborn series.
RPG. Ancient
18,000 years ago.
18,000 years ago.
I want to see the city. I want to know what the glittering skyways of Yolen are.
Because that sounds like not just one floating city, right? That sounds like...
Yes.
We have highways to other floating cities, right? And it's a whole thing, which sounds awesome.
It's like, what does that mean, Bran?
I mean, potentially, right? That depends on what you think a skyway is. Because it could be like streams of air.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But like magic, so that dragons can, like dragon highways.
Sure. That's true.
Yes, I would not call the jet stream I would be disappointed if the Glittering Skyway was that.
I could
Glittering
see it.
Skyway is a name that evokes something more substantial.
I could imagine the thing that came to mind is like imagine like a colossal glass tube that's like iridescent on the sides and like dragons like go between, like that could match that but also look very cool and be cinematic looking type thing.
So I can paint a picture of an idea too, is when I think of glittering, I think like stars. And if you're going to travel between cities or places, you need to know where you're going to go to. So almost like using maybe not stars, but well, obviously not real stars, but you know, some kind of like glittering like stars as a way to follow the path to the closest city, where you can see it even at night.
Yeah.
The thing I think of with this, oddly enough, I'm usually the first person to say, "Oh, new location, let's go there." My thought on this one is I want to see how it gets used in the Cosmere. Like, do we think it's still going to be around at the end of the Cosmere?
Well, I kind of anticipate the end of the Cosmere is when shard stuff gets really crazy and we can just blow up planets. Like that's just a thing we can do at the end, right? So maybe not, but I do think it would be really cool to see this city, like a character go to it in the prequel in Dragonsteel, and then we see it far in the future. Like that sounds awesome.
There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with cities that have been there for forever, whether it's the city gets destroyed, you get to see the city forever ago. If you get to see, I don't know, a restaurant that was a city forever ago and still exists today.
Just like it was so awesome before, but
so
like
good.
It's not necessarily as good 10,000 years in the future, maybe. I mean, Starlink thinks it's pretty great.
Like the city's so strong and so well fortified or whatever that it could act as like the last bastion of safety or whatever. Like there's so many different directions that can go here. I'm just excited to see, you know, if it ends up getting used somehow.
Like there's also like the question of like by what mechanism is this city floating in the sky?
It's true.
Yes. Important question.
And like this is not a theory I ascribe to. It's an idea in my brain that it's just in there. Not knowing what these skyways are. Because earlier, like it mentions like there's an entire infrastructure above the surface, like around the Great Star. And there's a dragon. There's a flying city.
Yeah.
What if like the skyways are this like network of like, I don't know, crystal or something that just like encapsulates the planet to an extent, and is just up there,
or it's like a web along in the sky.
It's a web up there that circles the planet, and like the city like is like hanging from it. It's like it's built into the
that's
skyways.
a cool idea.
Yeah. Man, Yolen is looking so cool, which is great because honestly in Dragonsteel Prime, the Shatterblades was the most cool part of it, and we stole that. And so Brandon is putting in the cool world building stuff. We got a Great Star, we got Floating City and stuff. I'm like, okay. This sounded cool.
But the cool stuff is the dragon stuff, right? Because the actual like Yolen human story, like the plan is still for Dragonsteel to be Bronze Age story, so you're not gonna have these technological marvels where humans are
character's gonna go up there, but like it's just cool when you're on the ground and you see Floating City way up there, or like the webs of crystal. Like that's cool, right?
Sure.
Regardless, but like these are the fun world building ideas that Brandon his world building's gotten crazy with the secret projects. So you know we got some good stuff here. I like it.
It's like, yes, it's going to be Bronze Age, but the dragons are not going to be Bronze Age.
No, but the dragons are not what Dragonsteel Prime is.
That feels like middle of book 2 that you go to like the cool, awesome Dragon City.
You go to Rivendell.
And you learn your magic there, obviously, you have Master Frost teaching you magic. There you go. Easy.
They're going to end up there eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
This is a personal thing.
Okay.
I don't like Feign and Unfeign. Give us Troon life back, Brandon.
Yes. Troon life.
Don't give us like a thing and then not a thing as the two options. Make them both co-equal things.
Well, I was banging that drum last time when we talked about Dragon Forums, but
well, this is different.
That's different.
There's textual evidence to support the alternative view of Kenny. Unfeign is, I don't know. It easily could just be that's a phrasing so we don't just have too many random terms. Because if you're like not aware of any of this and you say like Feign and Troon, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
There's also like it feels weird to me like the Feign and Unfeign being like the weird stuff and then the normal life.
Yeah.
It's like like the normal biology is a thing that's not a thing.
Yeah. Life both abnormal and unabnormal.
That's what it feels like. Abnormal and not an unabnormal. I'm like,
I gotta make a point before we move on to with Dragonsteel
I don't
Prime.
think we're moving on.
The cool part of Dragonsteel Prime is the magic system.
What magic system?
Before we
light weaving,
all the magic
microkinesis.
Oh my!
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how it is redone. To be honest,
I don't want to take too much time because that is a hard tangent.
Yeah,
but not like we've done any tangents today.
Yeah.
I needed to make that point before we kept going.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about
the soul manifestation.
Yeah, the soul manifestation. Yeah, we probably should have put that in the other one. That's fine. But just like manifesting that image of the dragon, that was very cool. I don't know why another dragon would do that personally, but okay, sure.
It's interesting that she can tap them together too.
Yeah.
Like tap her manacles together to manifest.
Yeah.
I think that's like the other dragons did it because like she's still a dragon. Like she's still better than like the whole thing is like you're better than all of those mortals. Right. So it's like they're gonna give her the thing to like prove it.
Yeah, there is a reputation to uphold here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like no, like if someone's giving you a problem, like you need to let them know you're a dragon. And like I think that's just like a minor function. It's basically just a light weaving in my mind. It's like tap it. It does an auto light weaving of like her soul.
Yeah,
probably.
I don't think it's physically pulling her soul into visible space because that would be bad. It's just a soul.
The text describes it as an echo.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's, because the manacles are intercepting her own connection to the spiritual realm. Because of that intercept, they can they have access to her soul, and they can project a picture of it that is it's more than just a light weaving, because it's not an illusion. It is a projection of her true self.
I think that's a really good way to put it, actually, especially considering light and everything else.
Yeah. And then we talked about the Dawn Shard Vault. Oh, that's interesting in this quote, though, that on the walls there were runes of the elders, which is, I don't know, that sounds a little Aeonic. Presumably they do magical things. They could be.
I assume it was the same thing as what we saw, when Frost signed.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true.
He was here lies, what's his face?
Yeah.
I mean, as a long-lived society too, do you change your language all that often?
Probably not. Yeah, that's
Probably a lot less
true.
language drift.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean,
that's why like old Yolish draconic whatever, like it's saying the same because the dragons who spoke it are still around.
Are still speaking it.
Right. They're not dying. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas like human Yolish probably has changed a significant amount.
Tons.
Not a whole lot of new young Gen Z dragons introducing, slang and dialects into the language.
Dragons have La Académie Française, but for draconic, and they're like, no. Anything new? Nah.
And if they don't like you enough, they'll put manacles on you. You're going to speak the language.
With soul projection.
That's what it's going to be. But let's talk about some dragon culture. We've talked about the some, but an interesting quote is that officially all dragons had retreated from political life. They engaged in civil affairs, researched on their own, or kept to their religious duties. And yet, as Deja seemed to know full well, few of her kin kept to that ideal, except in the loosest interpretation.
Yeah.
So they were in political life before, at some point. You need to retreat.
Yeah.
You would have to do it at some point, in some respect.
I wonder how much of this is a consequence of the mortal races becoming more of a force in the Cosmere, and how much of it... So that's option A, right? Option B is things are getting spicy with the shards lately.
Yeah.
We've got at least a couple of dual vessels.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we can have more, but we have 2 confirmed ones.
We got 2.
At least one of which is not a happy boy. The other one might have flipped to not being a happy boy.
Oh,
at
sure.
This point.
Yeah. Yes.
And so it may be that the thing that we've mentioned a couple of times, which was the idea that, shards and dragons might be in a bit of a conflict, or at least posturing kind of war. Maybe the dragons have gone, this is getting too spicy for us, or maybe the shards have gone, hey, you guys have the potential to be problems, so you will either back out or we're gonna throw down.
I think it's probably a thing related to maybe the shattering or an agreement with shards. I don't know how recent the retreat from political life has been. It's a little vague.
Yeah. I would be inclined to think, based on nothing whatsoever,
great,
that it is more recent than the shattering, but not particularly recent.
Sure.
Like, I'd still think this is a few hundred years ago, like, in terms of Emberdark.
It does feel contemporary in some capacity.
Yeah, like, it's not thousands of years ago, but it's on the scale of hundreds of years rather than thousands of years.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But, like, I'd probably lean closer to 1,000 than not.
Yeah, I don't know. I somehow got the impression it was longer ago. Like, it feels like Xysis has been doing his thing for a very, very long time, right? Which, admittedly, like, Xysis can be doing his own thing and not being necessarily politically involved as, like, dealing with nation states directly, right?
Well, like, the whole thing is that, like, most dragons aren't exactly keeping to this. Most dragons are still involved politically. Like, they're just giving themselves plausible deniability.
Xysis, like, in particular, very active.
Yeah. So it's like, Dragons said they were going to stop being involved politically and then didn't stop.
Just took a step back and stepped behind the throne.
Yeah, like, sure. So, and, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like, under the guise of like, the mortal races have advanced. Like they no longer need our like direct supervision.
Sure.
So we will retreat to let them thrive. Meanwhile, they're absolutely still like manipulating things.
Yeah.
Because of course they are.
Yeah.
For the optics, they're not involved.
Yeah. I guess in that sense, it's very much as we get to the space age and there's lots of different cultures intersecting in a broad way, then maybe the dragons are like, okay, gotta retreat a bit and be more subtle, right, in what we're doing.
Or like, I'm going to become a CEO of a company and turns out corporations can have a profound political effect.
Civil affairs. They're not political. They're not political at all.
Not at all.
We wouldn't know anything about that.
Ooh. Spicy politics.
There's not
Shardcast.
a wide spectrum of fiction written about this sort of thing.
No.
Reality.
Yeah.
There doesn't exist a genre dedicated to that.
Yeah. Of corporations ruling things? No. Not at all.
We're not going to have a Mistborn era.
Yep. Oh, that's going to be good.
Give us a corporation we need the cyberpunk era now because we need one of the corporations to secretly be dragons.
Absolutely.
A dragon corporation.
100,000%. Absolutely. Maybe
Zysis Co. Wonder who is running that.
Maybe, or like Foil Co. Foil Co. That was easy.
Foil Co. Metal. Scadrial.
Easy. Yeah.
He's got him.
Yeah. The more people go through perpendicularities, the more dragons can finally get their grubby little paws on them. Claws, not paws. They can't shapeshift into mammals. We discussed that. Well,
they can.
One of their forms is
one of them.
They explicitly can shapeshift into a mortal. Into a mammal.
But like Scadrial's created whole cloth, right? They weren't able to set a thing up to like have influence there later, so that's kind of a problem for them.
Yeah, it's
a new war. Once Scadrial is Cosmere aware,
no problem.
They can just show up and say like, "Hello, we would like to set up a company here. We will sell you things.
We are just humble merchants with lots of knowledge for you. Would you not like knowledge? You would love knowledge.
We have this nifty metal you can buy.
Ooh. What is this metal? I like the idea that the dragons don't necessarily hoard riches, but they hoard ideas and things. Zysis is certainly a collector, though. He's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like this is one of those classic dragon things that Brandon obviously is playing with. Like it's mentioned like hordes of wealth is more a reference to the fact that they have dragon steel on their bodies, and when they die, the dragon steel is still there. So, but yeah, like instead their hoard is ideas or the people of their corporation. So I like that little bit of a twist on a classic piece of dragon. In much the same way, we're definitely getting investiture laser beams instead of
100%. 100%. 1,000%.
I think one of my favorite things with the conversation with Zysis is how he is at least partially, if not fully, behind the rumors about dragons eating people. And he's just constantly going on about it as if it's like this inside joke. It was, I don't know, I just think it's really funny.
He is certainly playing into it intentionally.
It's very amusing that a dragon can just be like, no, I'm going to spend thousands of years to make a rumor just so mortals know about it. Like, I love crap like that. That's incredibly funny.
I think,
but if I was in Zysis' position, like, yeah, of course I would do that. I would absolutely make people think I would eat them. I'm like, that's such a good, like, tool in negotiations. Like, they can't get too mad at me or else they might think I'm going to eat them. Like, hey.
Sorry, I'm just imagining. I can imagine the investiture laser beam in the dragon form, but I'm just imagining Xysis at the piano just open.
Oh my
It's very funny to me.
Oh my goodness.
I love that.
I want that.
I'm excited for
Evgeni.
Can we commission?
We need this as
Okay, let me go edit the commission of Xysis.
You need a doctorate, so there's only one. Excellent, very good.
I'm excited for Xysis. I think he's going to be a really interesting character going forward. I wasn't.
Yes.
I wasn't all totally committed yet. But then when I was rereading and kind of prepping for this, just reading his stuff and how much he brings up that joke, I'm excited to see more.
The Xysis piano chapter is just such a memorable chapter in the book, and not just because I'm referenced in it, but that's cool. But like, Xysis is just like, what a dynamic scene. Xysis, very hot. I'll be honest. Like, just, oh, he's great. Love Xysis. Dragons also have multiple names. There's like a common name and a more religious name.
Yeah.
Wait.
Starling versus Illustandrista, Foil versus Xysis Refliel.
It's funny having the religious one also shortened. So it's like, in a sense, there's almost 3 names, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Illustandrista is.
We get like
good.
a few others. Like, so Frost is obviously his common name. We don't know his high draconic name.
Yeah.
We have Corivelium Avast. Presumably, Corivelium is the draconic part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Metal Antorius, the Vessel of Valor. And then we have Carocandriamast and Vambra Castram. 2 other names.
Yes.
And it's like, I like the high draconic names.
They're good.
They're really good.
And it's like, I also find it interesting that they vibe very similar in my brain to the sleepless names, like Nicleosaur.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that vibe.
There's a vibiness there.
I wonder if that vibe is just like high fantastical name. I don't know. There is a bit of that.
What are some other sleepless names?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like that. They're all like long and
the
like
first swarm.
Yeah, Yellowmizin, Howithador, Nicleosaurm.
There is something.
Kadorich,
Yeah.
Chinikdacorit.
Yeah, I mean, the sleepless ones are more insecty. Like, there's more tick in them.
Arclomidarian.
But there is definitely some similar vibes there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the vibe that Adenalcium gave both the dragons and the sleepless. The sleepless, like, okay, you are going to be one of my species that I do not design to interbreed with the common template that I'm making. But you will have cool, awesome names like the dragons. Easy peasy.
All the vowels I take away from the Shodel, I give unto you.
And obviously the dragons, they like their bargains. I think that's more classic dragon fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm. Though it's common, but it's not as intrinsic as some people believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't have like a biological imperative that like they must make deals. No. But like, it's very common, and maybe some dragons imply that it's more of a thing than it is.
They're good legend builders.
I think the deals thing is almost like a natural follow through on them being so long-lived, and knowing and understanding that, you know, information and you know, someone owing like favors and deals are going to favor them in the long run.
Yeah.
Whereas short-term wealth is just not as valuable to them.
Yeah, but like we this was actually a thing that was theorized amongst the fandom before we got Emberdark, which goes more into depth on this, and Starling says like it's not actually a thing. But we saw like the two main dragon examples we had, Xysis and Korra. Korra Bellium of Ass, she who grants seduce at dawn.
Yeah,
of course.
Sure.
Like we see Xysis making deals under the sea in Tress, and we do have this thing of exchange
with the Night Watcher,
with cultivation, both cultivation directly and the Night Watcher of the old magic being like, you get this thing, like they're a boon and a curse. Like there is an implicit deal sort of thing.
That's interesting.
Of like giving something up to get something else. A price being exacted.
Of the particular dragons that we're going to talk about in some respect, I do want to talk about Korra's dragonness, which is quite interesting. That I don't think we've talked about yet too much. But yeah, you know, they Starling, the dragons have their dragon palaces with priests and stuff. That's cool. Just those religious followers and things. I like that. I like the idea of Starling eventually having a dragon palace. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but she doesn't want that.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Well, that's true.
Her dragon palace is going to be her spaceship.
That's true.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. That spaceship could get better and better. And then there's this idea of like even like taking prayers, covering prayers for other dragons. That's kind of interesting as well. Like
it is interesting that they can substitute for one another.
Yeah. They can do a call forwarding, blanket call forwarding to
I guess that's the advantage of the dragons being connected, and that you can like adjust those connections, right? In a sense.
Yeah, I mean it's a little hand wavy, and maybe it has to be
like the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
Well, that's important though. But I'm sorry, I don't want to jump in.
But there is, if we're talking about the reason dragons can influence emotions at a distance is because they are connected with their followers, then how is that connection being passed around? Now, granted, connection is just a spiritual construct, so if you can manipulate connection, you can pass it on to someone else theoretically. So there is it's certainly plausible that this can be done, and we do have the thing with the medicals where they can intercept or redirect Starling's connection to the spiritual realm. So there's certainly a precedent for manipulation of connection to allow for call forwarding. It is still interesting that it's possible. I would not have expected that to be possible before this book.
So the interesting thing with connection and the dragons specifically, and how they relate to the spiritual realm is Wind and Truth. We had the bondsmiths in the spiritual realm, and they were manipulating connection. It'll be interesting to see the dragons possibly navigate that even more so. It seems like connection's a big part of navigating the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
You know what that made me think of?
What?
There is an ancient wob. Ancient paraphrased wob, I should say.
Oh, good. Even better.
Interesting.
From the Words of Radiance Washington, D.C. signing.
Okay.
Nice. What year?
That's 2014.
2014. Radiance, 2014.
Words of Radiance.
2014, yeah.
Are there life forms that are native to the spiritual realm, like the spread are native to the cognitive realm? Brandon, Yes, but they're not what you're thinking.
I would not consider dragons to be native.
I wouldn't either, but it's like,
That's interesting.
That said,
That would be interesting.
I do have those guys in my background.
Yeah.
That
they are
certainly reside in the spiritual realm full time.
God.
And like that might be what Brandon is getting at, where it's like it's not what you're thinking. It's like it's not like a purely spiritual entity.
No, it's the souls of the dead.
Sure.
We do have that Reddit thing about spiritual corpses too, if you want to get into that.
No,
like when somebody dies and there's a cognitive shadow, and then when the cognitive shadow moves on, there's like a spiritual corpse that lingers for a while.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, that not even when there's a cognitive shadow, like there's always a bit of a corpse in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, but it's not a corpse; it's your spiritual aspect.
But it's your dead. It's the same thing.
Oh no, sure, yeah. What I meant, I didn't mean cognitive shadow. I meant cognitive aspect.
Oh yeah. Your cognitive aspect gone. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you could take this interesting places too if you think of the dragons with the spiritual realm, Shodel with the cognitive, and the humans with the physical.
There's a little bit of that vibe.
That's a parallel.
Yeah.
Now we'll have to see. Well, we do know that the Shodel have an affinity for the cognitive realm canonically because of Melan's epilogue. There's a line.
There is a line of that, isn't there?
It is a relevant line because we're talking about dragons.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's something about like something direct line to their gods.
Yep, that is exactly.
Their gods are the dragons, and because they have the bone phone built in.
Yeah, because the Tamukeks are Shodel bones, as far as we know.
A specific Shodel bone. Not all of their bones are Tamukeks. Presumably.
You know the problem with exploring in the cognitive realm?
What's that?
Is when you go to a new place, you can't unsee it.
Terrible. Alexa, how do I kick people out of the call?
How do we ban people from the server, actually? But talking about, the big guys in Evgeni's background, the Spirit Shores are extremely cool. That was also very cool in Emberdark, and I loved Hoyd just like popping in there. Definitely a thing that you can directly go to if you know what you're doing.
What was the Wind and Truth line that referred to the Spirit Shores? So the line in Wind and Truth, Hoyd takes a small bone, a Tamukek, presumably, from his pocket, and reached into the meditative realm of the dragons, where he'd always been an interloper. There, he sought the wisdom of the ancient dead, who could see far more clearly if you knew how to get them to talk to you. Okay, so that's consistent with what we see here, right?
Yeah,
he is certainly uninterloper. In fact, there he is.
Yeah. Hey. Nice.
But he's obviously had access to this realm for a while.
Oh, and so this is in Hoyd's POV after Night of Sorrows. Okay, interesting.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. This is chapter 147. Okay, so he's like directly talking with the dragons, if you can make them talk. So, yeah, I imagine that's pretty useful.
Unclear whether his ability to get there is due to his Hoydness, due to his long friendship with Frost.
I think it's his Hoydness.
Or due to him maybe being married to a dragon. Unclear.
I don't think he's married to a dragon.
I don't think so either, but I don't know.
No, like the wife may be a dragon. I'm not gonna put that aside. I don't think that's happened yet by the time we are getting this scene in Stormlight.
Oh, you think that's because okay. So you're saying yes, okay, he wasn't
Marriage happened after this.
he wasn't being unfaithful.
That's a whole new realm of cheating. It's like, yeah, I grab my Tamukek, I go to the spirit shores, and I hook up with dragons there. You know?
No. This was about Yasna, right?
Yeah.
But hey, if his wife doesn't remember that she is his wife, then it's not cheating, right?
We will talk about Hoyd's wife in
That's not how that
and
works.
his twins.
And his twins.
And the twins, rather. We don't know if they're his or not.
Presumably
I'm assuming
technically,
they're his.
but
Yeah. We will have an episode about that. Lots of commenters in the Emberdark reactions are like, I can't believe you brought this up. We have a whole episode of lists of open questions. So we'll talk about it sometime, probably 2026. But anyway, I just think the spirit shores are really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Coolest one of the coolest things in Emberdark.
Yeah.
And it makes dragons so interesting. Because it feeds into their natural lifespan is 20,000 years.
That's crazy.
Which is
plus
insane.
And that there's been so many already. Yeah.
Yeah. And they are so invested that they need to be put a special place after their death for their souls to degrade.
Yeah. Which is
so cool.
Which is interesting. Well, I guess I'm thinking of vessels who have died. I'm thinking of Ati, for example. Because presumably he was as invested as you can get, right?
Yeah, but
and he has held this shard for thousands of years.
And his corpse is somewhere in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, maybe.
And you could probably do things with it.
Kelsier. You could punch it.
I think that is kind of the reason why the spirit shores exist, to prevent because without them, people could just rock up into the spiritual realm and muck about with corpses, dragon corpses.
Talking about the dragons on the spirit shores, there's an interesting bit from Keikoban's story where Frost was a statue. I thought that was really interesting because, is there a chance that's actually coming from something more realistic than just a story? Is maybe Frost was a statue on the spirit shores already, or was a dragon on the spirit shores and came back to life potentially, or something else was going on with that?
I do not remember the context to the Kakaban story with Frost as a statue.
It's just a tiny little bit.
Yeah. It's during the story, it references Kakuban making a deal with a great winged statue. And it's later on, there's a connection made to that may have been Frost. Maybe it's been a hot minute since I read this. Maybe Six was, or Dusk was relaying part of the story and a connection is made.
No. So, we learn about Kakuban's story is well known to Mother Frond, to Dusk.
Yeah.
And there is the idea of, it talks about how Kakuban, there's two giants and he sails under their feet and they hit each other and there's this big wave and he rides the wave and then eventually he makes a deal with this great winged statue. And at the very end, when Dusk gets his vision of Kakuban, the vision ends with Kakuban dying and hearing the flapping of wings. And then at the very end of the book, we learn that upon Kakuban's grave were runes that Starling recognizes as, these are my uncle's. That's my uncle's signature.
Sure.
And so that's the connection of, and there's also the dragon saying, "Oh, sorry, I was too late. I couldn't find you without a navigator," or something like that. And so that's the connection of Kakuban to a dragon, and then that dragon to Frost. And then so if there's a Kakuban and a dragon, then a great winged statue. It's probably that. What else could it be?
I wouldn't be surprised if dragons could somehow make like a statue of themselves that like could be like some sort of thing that people can pray to, that the dragons don't need to be there. Like I feel like that's a reasonable thing that could exist.
Maybe.
Yes, I don't think that's what's going on here. Like, I think, yes, the oral tradition can preserve vast amounts of information as established by Emberdark. Sometimes things do get messed up. And for a culture that has no conception of what a dragon is,
wing statue,
it makes sense that that got like interpreted into a giant winged statue.
That's also like simple.
Maybe Frost had told stories about the spirit shores to like Kakuban and his like compatriots, like as they were traveling, and like that just got confused over the years.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. I don't think Frost died and came back to life.
No, I don't think so either.
Because like to an extent that is possible, but I feel like once you're at the point of your corpse is on the spirit shores, like there's no coming back from that.
Yeah,
Asterisk.
Like presumably 5 shards could get together.
Presumably,
but, you know.
No, but
Also
like, resurrection is a thing that exists in the Cosmere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now with dragons, it might be virtually, if not literally, impossible. But
resurrection is possible. Like
a problem.
It's more like slightly extended resuscitation.
Yeah.
It's like once your corpse is on the spirit shores, like your cognitive aspect is in the beyond. Like you're not coming back from that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case.
I just don't think you'd be the same.
Because there was the illusion earlier that Hoid could communicate with the dragons.
Yeah, but that's like the echoes, and so like there is like that's their spiritual aspect thing, right?
Yeah, it's like I feel like that is just a more robust version of Dalinar hearing Evie's screams.
Sure, but if you
Evie crying,
but if you can shove someone's spiritual corpse back into a physical body, that is not as different from resurrection as shoving their cognitive aspect into a physical body. Like, yes, you lose things in the process, and obviously the longer this goes, the more you lose. Either way, that's not what happened to Frost.
I want Hemalurgy Dragon to be formed back together, Kelsier style. Good.
I just think that you can bring all sorts of... Taravangian is bringing the idea of the Blackthorn out of the spiritual realm, and presumably he's going to cause problems.
It's not like the same thing, right?
But you're still pulling a thing out of one realm and into another, and this is now presumably a living thing. I don't know how he's gonna play.
Oh, there's a chance here to do something really fun too, which I don't know. I don't think it's gonna go this way. But with like Lord of the Rings, when you have that spoilers for Lord of the Rings, the army comes back to fight.
Oh, like all the spirit shore dragons to do things.
Yeah, all the spirit shore dragons to show up and fight.
That's wild. I don't know if that would work, but that's quite the image.
I mean, like, granted, a lot of these dragons are, they are unresponsive. You can't,
Yeah.
They are alive in like the spiritual sense, but you can't interact with them.
They're resting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a funny visual, though, for sure.
I just didn't want to ignore the Great Wing statue line, and we can always talk about this in a different episode too.
No, I think that's good.
But just because it's we have the dragons that aren't moving, and there's other pieces from the legend that are actually true, and so they're the two things that link up the most closely, at least.
No, I think that's a good catch. I like that. Moving on a bit, I wanted to talk about Corvelium Avast, Cultivation, and it was very interesting in Wind and Truth how I feel like we got a lot of context as to why Cultivation didn't act very much, right? And like her dragon nature of like, I don't want to be worshipped. This is the whole reason I did all of this, because I like kind of rejected dragon culture with this, right? So of course she doesn't want people to directly worship her on Roshar. That's exactly the opposite of what she wants. And I don't know, I just thought that was very interesting. I can imagine, I mean, Starling doesn't necessarily want that, right?
Like it'd be interesting to like see a conversation between Starling and Cultivation.
Or not even a conversation, but like I have to imagine that Starling knows who the original vessels are.
Surely.
Like that feels like the kind of thing that at least Yolish dragons, if not all people in Yolen, but like the dragons at least, would know.
I mean, Frost knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like
knows.
Corvelium Avast is probably a well-known figure in that lore. And so it would be interesting to learn how Starling feels about another dragon who went against the idea of being worshipped. And not just another dragon, but like one of the two dragon vessels.
If we don't get the continuing adventures of Starling and the crew of the dynamic blah 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 long
First we riot.
Ship.
Yes,
We would riot. And Cultivation has now buggered off from Roshar and is somewhere out there. Their paths could cross.
It could.
She needs a ship.
That's true.
It's true. It's true. It's interesting because Starling doesn't want to be like a demigod. That she doesn't want. But I do think she wants to help people and like fortify like people she cares about. And so like there could be like an interesting like non-religious way that Starling does that beyond just the crew. Like I do think the crew is mainly going to be that for sure. But like I could imagine like her final character state is like she has followers, but it's not like religious followers, and she is like strengthening them. Like I do think that is a thing that she could do. Just not like actual worship.
That line feels fuzzy.
Yeah. Whereas like I think Cultivation would not do that. Right. Like Cultivation, I don't think really wants to help her fortify people. Like she doesn't care about that at all. Right?
She doesn't want to do the dragon thing.
No, not even.
Though on the other hand, like she is Cultivation. Like she does like the whole thing of like, I will make of you a tool, like though it may serve him. Like she's still meddling.
She's meddling.
Like, she's not completely hands off.
That's true. Yeah. She's got the dragon meddling, but not wanting the dragon worship in that aspect.
Yeah.
I don't know. So just kind of interesting with Core, just especially with Emberdark having the context of the dragon worship and like what that means. I'm like, yeah, I can totally imagine a dragon in the service of Aiden Alcium be like, I don't like this. We are going to change the status quo. I'm gonna kill him. Fun.
And then contrast that with Metal Intorius, the great dragon god.
Huh?
who presumably went along with it, but still decided to kill Edenalzio.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know anything about Valor, other than that Valor dated Hoyd.
Yeah.
The only wrong thing she has done in her life.
Well, I mean, they're exes, so,
Well, mistakes were made and then ratified.
Yeah, I'd really want to know about Valor's perspective on all of that, because I feel like that would be different. And also, Dragon God is, like, what does that mean? Right.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, this does come from Tanavast's POV, right?
Sure.
Who was human and to whom virtually all dragons were gods.
Yeah, but once you bone a dragon, I feel like the luster of them all being gods is a little different.
Like, from my interpretation of this is that, yes, all dragons could be worshipped. Some dragons are going to be basically the Olympian gods, who are like the big names that are great and powerful.
Yeah.
And then some of them are going to be like the god of old age that is a god. And is just kind of there.
That's very interesting to think, like, in Dragon Pantheon, one in like the big Dragon Pantheon is like, I'm gonna actually kill the head honcho god and be a shard. Like, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Because, like, I'm sure there are still plenty of dragons who, like, they're not particularly widely worshipped, if at all.
Sure.
Yeah, like, there's a whole thing of, like, Starling is the 13th divinity of Shotozoko Peak. We don't know about that. There's some sort of hierarchy there.
Sure.
I'm curious to see what the dragon hierarchy looks like. I don't think we've even really taken a look at that at all.
Emberdark's a grand showing of, like, here's some cool stuff that we'll talk about some other time, right?
Only so much cool stuff you can fit in a book.
Yeah. That's true.
Without it becoming an encyclopedia, right?
Please tell us about the dragons. But, we'll have Dragonsteel and things, right? So, and then lastly, from our interview, we do have reference to lesser dragons that are more Anne McCaffrey style dragons that don't have human form. And Brandon also said we've got some little drakelings on one planet that are not 6 limbs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
I think that's one of the things that we actually didn't mention, in part because we've mentioned it several times in past episodes.
Sure.
But kind of the idea that dragons are Fane.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
And one way you can know that is you just look at the WAP that says that. But the other way, the thing that inspired the WAP was the idea that in books that are not published, Fane creatures have 6 limbs. And so if you look at a dragon, you have the kind of the 4, front legs, back legs, and you have the 2 wings, and that's kind of like 6 limbs. And that inspired the question, and Brandon did confirm that dragons are, in fact, Fane, which suggests that maybe these drakelings that are being mentioned here are not, which is interesting in and of itself. I don't know if the dragon's Fane nature is useful to us at this stage, right?
Well, like, to an extent, like, they could represent a blending between the two, where they have the Fane lizard draconic form, and, like, I'm sticking with Troon. I don't care that it's not canon anymore. The Troon form of, like, their humanoid form, which is not Fane. Like,
I mean, like,
bridging the divide.
We've also talked about how dragons can be kind of the sapient race that sits between Fane and Unfane, like you have the humans and you have the Shodel and you have the dragons that kind of represent both, but reside above. We talked about that in the Silverlight episode when we talked about the Nexus, I think.
Sure.
But like fundamentally, I don't know, when we describe a creature as Fane, that doesn't tell us much in and of itself. Like, it's interesting because the existence of Fane life is interesting within the Cosmere, but it doesn't actually tell, like, okay, so what, right?
Yeah, it's like, and the nature of Fane life really hasn't been explored in canon.
Yep.
Basically, all we know is it's a competing ecology.
Yeah.
Which, like,
And
we
we
get
go to
some
Alpha
of that
Flesh.
in like the Lyre of Pertinel that we got. What that means, and it's very worrisome potentially.
Yeah. So
but
kind of like a parasitic thing that spreads around the Cosmere.
I will say, not that I like Fane and Unfane, just to be clear, but if dragons are considered Fane, that line of Fane and Unfane is from Starling's POV, and she could consider herself Fane, and so it's like myself and things that are not me, which could be reasonable.
Dragons, it's understandable for dragons to be racist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they they're pretty absorbed with themselves, right?
Yeah. So like,
and we could talk unpublished too, but there's so much that might have changed since then.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't.
Exactly. And like going back to the lesser dragons proper of like the like Anne McCaffrey style, like Brandon has mentioned like wanting to do like a dragon riders sort of thing, which like presumably they are going to be these lesser dragons. They're not presumably fully sapient shape-shifting people.
Yeah.
Because ethically that gets a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean, Wab literally says they do not have a human form.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean they're not sapient. So.
Yes, but yes.
Yeah.
It's the shape-shifting part that I am contesting.
Yeah. And then like hot off the presses, Brandon was at Salt Lake City FanX and did a reading, which has not been posted yet. So we have a very, very, very paraphrased thing from Ian, that mentions a war with dragons and the firmament.
Cool.
And something to do with endowment.
I don't.
Interesting.
I am very interested to see the transcript of this reading.
Yes, I want to see whatever this is.
Maybe we'll have an episode for that, and it'll be even more dragons stuff. I don't know.
I need this.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Well,
which actually, go one more thing. Because Ian says he thinks it might have been Yolan, which maybe the firmament, water in the sky is the skyways.
Skyways.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Sure.
Water glitters.
Yeah. I was wondering with the lesser dragons, is it like how they're related to the dragons? It's like, I don't know. We have no information, so I'm interested to know.
I feel like if human shards are going around making humans,
sure,
Valor's going to go around making dragons.
Dragon shards are making dragons,
Sure.
And it's like Valor cannot replicate what Aiden Alzium did, so like her recreations of the draconic form are not as cool.
Cultivation's got to get with it and grow some dragons herself here. Come on.
Yeah. Or didn't want to, right? Valor might consider her lizard form to be like a truer expression of herself than her human form.
I think that's probably a thing some dragons believe. I think that makes sense. Yeah, that That makes a bunch of sense to me. Cool. Any final thoughts, guys? Wow.
No.
We've been here a long time today.
Dragons are cool.
Dragons are cool. They're very cool.
And hey, we talked about dragons.
Yes, we did. So hopefully you enjoyed these 2 episodes that we did about dragons. And we're going to head on over to Who's That Cosmere Character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Braze.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Caw. Welcome to Who's That Cosmere Character, the game show where you send 5 clues in a character to WTCC at 17char.com. I read each clue aloud, and after each clue, these guys have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. We're here. We're 5 hours into the recording. We're almost done.
We're at the top of our game.
Yes.
I'm so awake right now.
Cool. So this one is sent in from Lightspren. I know we had some, I guess 2 episodes ago now from Lightspren. But clue 1. This character's homeland has been invaded.
That's a lot of people.
It's true.
Kanpar.
Ooh, it's not Kanpar.
Venli.
It's not Venli.
I'll take Serene.
It's not Serene. Clue 2. A book has been written which details the personal philosophy of this character.
Personal philosophy.
Noadon.
It's not Noadon.
Okay. God, we're never gonna guess this one.
I think I
Oh God, what's his face?
You want to describe?
The spiritual teacher from whom the 2 religions on
Cell. Yeah.
I know who you're talking
yeah
I can name him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I know who you're talking
I'll
about.
get there.
Because there's 3 religions. Yeah.
Yeah, and 2 of them come from the parent one.
Yeah. I think that's a unique identification enough.
Yeah, what's his name, Ian?
Kaseg, who wrote the Do Kaseg.
Yeah, the
And
Kaseg.
his followers were Korath and Dareth.
And it is Kaseg.
Nice.
He was going to be my next guest.
Yeah.
Evgeni.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Nice.
You were too fast on the Noadon guess, because I was also gunning for Noadon. So if you were a little bit slower...
Kaseg has significantly less things you can say about the Noadon. Whereas like a Noadon one, you'd like end with, oh, there's a book about him. Like, oh, okay. The next clue is this character has preached unity. This character is perceived as wise. In clue 5, disagreement about this character have sparked violent conflict on a large scale. Makes sense.
I think these could have been rearranged to be nastier. So like this character, like perceived wise, could have been the second one, and this would have been more confusing.
That's true. I was going to switch the Unity one to be last, but it didn't matter because you got it. So it doesn't matter. Great. Thanks for keeping things snappy, Evgeni. So now we're going to go to our Who's That Cosmere Character priority queue. And you can support our Patreon at patreon.com/17chard. And you can support that for as little as $1 a month. But if you would like to submit Who's That Cosmere Characters to our priority queue, which we'll read faster, theoretically, then you can support our priority queue. And so this one is from Lamerny, and it is from 2023, but that's because Lamerny sent a lot of them. So
well,
we've read a lot from Lamerny.
Is it a classic Lamerny submission?
No, this is good. This is good. But we are actually low on the priority queue. So go submit that, and then my spreadsheet's getting low on lines here. Clue 1. This character traveled to a holy city.
Wraithen.
It's not Wraithen.
By a second, I was going to guess that one too.
Well, you know.
The other one.
I do think you need to be a little more specific. I think you might need to be a little more specific.
You know,
on that
not
one.
Wraithen, the other one.
Yeah.
The evil one. God, it is unbelievable how strongly Elantris has left my brain.
You want the other Durethi priest who is secretly evil?
The monk, the leader of the monks.
Yes. First letter is D.
Dilaf.
It's not Dilaf. I wanted to troll you with some of the random other Fjordell priests.
No.
I don't remember those guys.
Yeah.
There's only like one other guy who's relevant at the end.
I'll take the opposite then. And I go with Raiden.
It's not Raiden. Clue 2.
If you consider Elantris to be.
Sure. Clue 2. This character uses an invested art.
Maybe it is the other.
The potion guy.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. It
doesn't
could be
travel.
someone who travels to like the capital and like visits Worm or something.
Worm?
Wern.
You did an episode on worms. Worm is
It's
something.
like,
Two of them.
the other guy's name. No, I don't think he does an invested art because he doesn't go to that monastery.
Hmm.
He doesn't go to Dokwar. Oh.
Yeah.
That's true. Holy City.
Holy City.
You could
Yeah,
probably,
that's where
you
I'm
could
at.
probably consider Eurythira to be a holy city, right?
I would
Yeah.
say so.
Doesn't help us much, but you know.
There's a few people who've been there at the stage.
Seth.
It's not Zeth.
Did I make my guess yet for this one? I don't think so.
You did not.
No, I don't.
I don't think
Okay.
Evgeni did either.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Siri.
It's not Siri.
I can't think of any other holy cities other than Elantris and
Sure.
Eurythira.
Well, you know. Sure.
Or, you know, wherever Wern's... Is it literally called Wern's Seat?
I think so.
I think it actually is. The only other holy city that comes to mind is the Semilix Dar. That's a holy city.
Is it holy?
I mean, they fought over it in religious war, so I mean...
It's in
kind
a
of-
hole, so yes.
Terrible. Accurate, but terrible.
Yes.
I mean, screw it. I'll literally go with freaking Wern.
It's not frickin' Wern. And I assume you mean Wern Wolfton the Fourth. Okay.
Yeah. Wolfden
Okay,
the
great, cool. Well, clue 3 will be really helpful. This character is male.
Okay, fantastic.
Invested art, travel to Holy City, male.
Yes.
Hrathen's Sion.
No.
Wraithen's female. Sion, also female.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should stop guessing Elantris things.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going to stay on the Warbreaker train and go with Vasher.
It's not Vasher.
Shootin.
It's not Shootin. Clue.
I'm ride or die Elantris.
All right. Clue 4. This character has a son.
I would argue that Shuden has uninvested art.
Yeah, this character
Huh?
uses an invested art as
Oh,
one of the
uses.
clues.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Conflated that with
With the other
an
one.
earlier clue, which
From a
was
different
not.
episode now.
Hey, time travel.
Time travel.
Has a son.
Yeah.
He's male.
Yes.
What's the phrasing
Awesome.
on invested art?
This character uses an invested art.
Uses. Okay.
No, that's not. was going to guess the Sunmaker, but he probably doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. Yeah.
Unless you count like summoning of a shard blade to be an invested art, which is probably a reach.
Ralna.
It is Ralna. Boom.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Hell yeah. And clue 5 was this character is very close to a god. And the clarification extra is both physically and spiritually close to Reluna, a god. Which I like.
Standing on one a lot of the times.
A lot of the time. Very good. Thank you all for listening to us talk about dragons and the spiritual realm more than we could ever have thought. Do we even need to do a spiritual realm episode now? We probably do. But
the spiritual realm is always with us.
In Shardcast.
It diffuses everything we do.
I mean, you're
yeah,
not
but what
wrong.
investiture is it made of?
You're not wrong.
You could say we're feeling very connected to it.
Yeah.
That's true. Anyway,
the spiritual realm is not dead so long as it lives within the hearts of Shardcasters.
I mean, I think the spiritual realm would still exist even if everyone died.
Yeah.
It's not cognitively dependent. Get on that, shards. Murder everyone and see what does to the spiritual realm.
For science.
For science. Anyway, you can find us all on 17shard.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could want. You can find us on our Discord server as well at discord.gg/17shard. You can support our Patreon at patreon.com/17shard for as little as $1 a month. Vote on our polls and see outtakes, which there will be one this time. And... yes, Bonnie, where Bonnie could not keep herself together. Yeah, we will see you all next time for something else.
Tune in for something else.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Caw.